Want to add strength training to your rock climbing regime? Watch this.
Our first caller is Isaac from Arizona.
Isaac, what's happening, man? How can we help you?
Hey, how's it going?
Good.
I'm glad I found a slot that worked. I had to turn down a slot last week because I was out of town for a conference. But
you're lucky. We never give anybody a second chance.
Oh, yeah?
First, second chance.
So, yeah, in my email, I think I must have been caffeinated that day. I included a lot of background. I don't know if I need to include all of that or just kind of go into my more immediate question.
Go ahead, go into your question, and we'll ask you questions if we think we need more.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I have gotten into climbing. Okay. Just a little bit of background. I had been running for the last few years, and then about a year and a half ago, I had an chronic ankle pain that prevented me from running. So I started climbing, was doing that. And then this last summer, I got a surgery on my ankle. It was a bone spur. And so I was out of the climbing gym for a few months. And during that time, I was going kind of crazy at home. And I realized I could still manage to lift some weights. So I started nerding out on resistance training, found you guys, lots of other resources. And I've been learning a lot and enjoying that. But now that my ankle's better, I'm climbing again, and now I'm back in school full time. So I actually really identified with another guest you guys had on recently who was talking, I think he was an athlete, but definitely like overtraining himself. And I'm definitely realized I've been overworking myself. I've just been sore and tired pretty constantly. And yeah, this week I actually just decided, tweaked my shoulder a little bit last week climbing, and I just decided to take a break. I knew I'd be talking to you guys, and I'm just looking for, I've actually never heard a climber on your podcast. So I'm just trying to optimize my climbing routine, which is very specific, pretty exhausting, and like works very specific muscle groups, but I'd like to include weight training to kind of stay more well-rounded.
We didn't just have a climber. We had the climber on our show.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I haven't listened to everything. I've just been listening the last couple of months.
I'll have to pull the episode up for you. I can't remember what number it was.
What was his name?
Tommy Caldwell.
There you go. Tommy Caldwell.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That was a great one.
You know, how many days a week are you climbing, and for how long?
So I've been bouldering twice a week, early morning before classes, and then on the weekend I do a rope climbing, which are definitely work. I feel like the rope climbing is much more like full body. Yeah. People compare bouldering to like powerlifting or something. It's intense and short.
Right. And so your goal is to get better at climbing and to prevent injury, right?
Yeah, I would like to get better at climbing and prevent injury, but I'm not also trying to be a world-class climber. I want to, like a lot of the time I'll end up bouldering and then like wanting to exercise all the muscles, you know, like the upper body stuff, like treat that as an upper body day and then try to, you know, work the muscles that don't get worked from bouldering. But I think I've been overdoing it.
One day, maybe 2 days of lifting?
Maybe 1 day a week.
Yeah.
That's it. I would go one day.
1-2 tops.
1 day a week. You'd pick, do a couple compound lifts and then do like some mobility stuff. And that's it. And the mobility stuff is going to be focused on shoulder mobility and core stability, because you need both. And you know, there's a lot of technical aspects to climbing, so it's not just strength. And now from a muscle standpoint, you probably don't want to build huge legs either. You'll notice the top climbers in the world don't have really big legs. They just have really good leg
Body
flexibility.
mass doesn't really aid in your pursuits.
No, and you'll want good mobility in your lower body, because you know you'll have to reach up with your foot and place yourself in weird positions. Yeah. So I would go maybe 2 or 3 compound lifts. So I've trained some climbers, and I would have them do rowing because of all the pull-up type motions that they would do. So, you know, you're still strengthening the back, but you're also strengthening it from an angle that maybe helps balance out, the kind of pull down or pull up type movement. Shoulder mobility work. So working on scapular mobility, working on external and internal rotation of the humerus and that kind of stability, because that's where you'll see some of the injuries. And then wrist mobility is going to be really good because of the dexterity that required in the hands, fingers, and then if you're going to overtrain anywhere, it's going to be your hands. And you'll notice pain in your elbows. And so that would probably be something I would focus on as well. But 1 day a week. No
this is actually where I think kettlebells would fit nicely in a bit more unconventional type of tools, mainly for the different controls and the different forces, like say you're doing a bottoms up kettlebell press, and just to establish a little more stability within your strength in combination with that. So they just bode well for a lot of rotational movements and a lot of movements outside of the scope of cables and dumbbells and barbells, for instance. So that's something I would include in terms of your strength training regimen, but definitely once a week is probably sufficient in terms of just overall strength training.
I think the most prescriptive thing that we have that I would give you is MAPS Performance. And I would have you do one of the foundational days a week out of there. And then if you had a good week of rest, or maybe you didn't do as much climbing, you felt really good, I would add in one of the mobility days from the mobility program. I think that would benefit you the most of everything that we have. I'd say that would probably be the best program as far as. Do you have any of our MAPS programs, by the way?
No, I only know from listening to you guys. I haven't really explored on the website and stuff. So this is interesting. I guess I was trying to take the approach of like doing a little bit more often, but climbing is not a little bit. So
yeah,
it makes sense. Maybe cutting down to climbing 2 days a week and just do a real strength training day.
Well, I mean, look, if you want to get better at rock climbing, then I wouldn't go down to 2 days a week of rock climbing. I would just do less strength training.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to balance the two, and I want to build,
I'm more interested in the balance at this point.
Okay.
Maybe I'll get to a point where I really want to go in on the rock climbing. But at this point, I just want to stay more balanced.
So 2 and 2.
That's
it.
it.
So 2 and 2.
Yeah,
2 days. So now go 2 days of the performance program I'm talking about, and 2 days of climbing, and that's a nice regimen right there. And by the way, 2 days of full body good programming, you're going to build some strength.
Yeah, you're
going to build some great muscle, and you're still doing your passion.
Pay attention to all the pulling movements in the workouts. I would go like moderate intensity at most, because you're just doing so much pulling, so much grip and pull stuff that'll be the place that you'll hurt yourself if you overdo it. For you, that'll be the most likely.
That makes a lot of sense.
And
all right, we'll send that over to you.
Episode 1115.
Tommy Caldwell.
Yep. You'll like
right on.
Yeah.
You got it, man.
And I wish I had more time. I'd want to talk to you about quantum mechanics. I was laughing at myself a little bit.
Listen, Isaac,
School us, please.
We already did talk about it in some alternate universe. So.
It already happened, man.
Yeah. Is the cat dead or alive? We don't know. Thanks for calling in, man.
All right, take care.
That's a quantum joke. Schrodinger's cat.
We all got that. Okay?
Yeah. I know. I feel like such a dick. So the protons, rock climbing is very interesting. It's actually, so I trained somebody one guy, it was only one guy, but I remember him because he walks in and talks to me about fitness, and I couldn't help but notice how his body was built. He had this crazy looking
huge forearms. Yeah, just real lean physique.
Yeah, and his hands looked all like gnarly,
like muscular
fingers.
fingers.
Yeah, and I'm like as soon as he comes in, he's asking me about workouts. I'm like, what do you do now? And he goes, "Oh, I'm a rock climber." Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
There was a lot of that at the gym I was at that you guys came and visited me. Yeah, there's a lot of guys.
Neil and all those guys.
Neil, they're just so strong in body weight ratio wise, and could do like one finger pull ups and things like that. So, there's crazy ways you can develop strength with rock climbing. So that's already super demanding.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's really just about reinforcing your other muscles to help contribute.
This falls in line with what I think is the most popular question that we get on this show is this.
How do I have everything?
How do I balance it all?
Right. I have this sport, and they all kind of start off with the same thing. Like they have this passion for this sport, but then simultaneously they also want to build muscle and look a certain way. And it's just like, something, you just have to understand that something's got to give when you're playing a sport. Nobody in any professional sport really gives a shit of what they look like if it's not improving their performance. It's all about performance first. So you just have to understand that there's a little bit of give and take. If you're going to put more energy and effort towards the way you look, you'll probably sacrifice a little bit of the sport. If you're going to put all that into the sport, well, you're going to sacrifice a little bit of the physique.
Yeah.
But I think that.
But at the end of the day, what the beauty is of finding something you're passionate about is you're probably going to be consistent.
Right.
You'll be consistently active. So, the whole cake and eat it too. I mean, that really applies.
Well, and to that point, if you if you eat really well and you have something like a sport like that you do, and
You're
you
gonna look
strength train one day a week,
Yeah, you're gonna look good.
You'd be surprised how good of a physique that you could
Yeah,
actually have.
totally.
You're not gonna go compete on a bodybuilding show, but you definitely will look like someone who lifts weights and looks really good. you know?
Totally.